Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm AndrewDFS, correspondent with FFMetrics, the number one scouting site for fantasy football in the market. If you haven't heard of us or have been just listening along, just feel free to go to ffmetrics.com. You'll get into the mind of the brilliant RC Fisher. You'll get weekly projections, game reports, and just general advice to take over your fantasy league, your handicapping, or whatever. So really good site there. Check it out. We're on Twitter. Follow us there. And there's also a main Twitch stream as well at FFmetrics. So definitely go check it out and subscribe. So today we're going to go through the week 5 lineup and discuss our stacking strategies, lineup strategies in general. But before we do that, let's go in and discuss the winner of last week's Millie Maker contest. Michael T0717 is the latest $1 million winner. How did this lineup win $1 million? Started at the top. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs stack right there. Boom. Expensive, yes, but they provided that ROI right there. 39.5, 39 points from Diggs. Add that up. That's close to 78.5. You're getting very close to 80 points right there. Beautiful. Now, going through the rest of the lineup, you have CMC that just dropped 50 points. I mean, 50 points is not something you see every day from running backs, but we've seen it with Devon A-Chain. Mostert got like 45-ish 2 weeks ago, and now CMC drops 50 points. Well done. That was a great pick. And, you know, we talked about it last week. There was potential in that game for San Francisco to just dominate time of possession, run the ball out. The thing that we were afraid of was that San Francisco would go up too much and maybe the backup running back would come in and take some of that away. But maybe we need to be more careful about that when San Francisco goes Sunday to Thursday as opposed to Sunday to Sunday. Or even actually they went from Thursday to Sunday, so they had an extended break too. So that we could have definitely hit that harder on this show last time. Khalil Herbert, 25 points. Denver just letting anybody run the ball at pretty much. I mean, they gave up close to 100 points combined with Mostert and A-Chain, and now Herbert drops 25 on them. What does that mean for Breece Hall, who has his restrictions lifted, no more snap count with Jets going into Denver this Sunday? We'll talk about that. Next on the list, Nico Collins. So we were all in on Stroud. We talked about Dell at length, but unfortunately, Collins was the one that got away here. And folks, for those of you that, you know, are kicking themselves like, how could I not have selected Collins over Dell? It was it happens, you know. Now less people are going to be on Dell. More concentration is probably going to be on Nico, and this could be Tank's week. So if you went with Tank and not Nico, I wouldn't kick yourself too hard. Like, you're not going to, like, you identified the right game. You just had you had the wrong receiver. It happens. And that's why people submitting multiple, even 150 lineups, they're at an advantage there because you eliminate that variance. When you identify that game that you want to attack, right? You have less variance when you have 150 lineups going in and you're covering your bases. You know CJ Stroud's going to do good. Unfortunately, that didn't mean Tank Dell did well as well. So Adam Thielen. So he's been on a tear these past 3 weeks, and the way that the Carolina offense is constructed is basically like short, quick throws. Bryce Young makes his read. If Bryce Young has a clean pocket, he's okay. Other than that, and his offensive line is terrible, Young looks like he doesn't belong in this league. So you give the guy, and you can say this about a lot of quarterbacks, you give maybe the top 20 quarterbacks time in the pocket and they'll carve you up. Young has that in him. You let him sit back, he can slice and dice you. But unfortunately, in the NFL, Carolina Panthers do not provide the positional advantages that were provided to him in Alabama. We saw why CJ Stroud's better. CJ Stroud went against a Georgia defense filled with NFL first-round picks and people making the league, and dropped 40 points on him in a playoff game. That was the first blip of CJ Stroud coming in and showing why he belongs in this league. And Bryce Young, we didn't, he couldn't even keep up with Georgia last year. So then you put him into an even worse situation, going, into the Panthers offense. They don't have any weapons. They don't have offensive line. Their defense is terrible. And you expect, I almost feel bad for the kid. Like, I didn't think he was going to do well, but I feel bad beating up on him so hard because he's just in such a crappy situation. You pull him and put him on Atlanta. Put Bryce Young on Atlanta. I think he does okay. I actually think Atlanta with Bryce Young becomes a playoff team. But anyways, I digress as usual. So let's wrap up this lineup and then start talking about this week's slate. Pat Freiermuth. He was he didn't really have a good game, but you know what? 3,400, having a cheap tight end in that place allowed you to go CMC, Allen, and Diggs. And then you can see Nico, Adam, Freiermuth. And then our next guy, Michael Wilson, an FFMetrics find from the summer. RC Fisher was on this before anyone. If you guys played in best ball and you're an FFMetrics subscriber, you have Michael Wilson on your team, possibly even your last pick, and he popped off here. Is this a blip? Is this a trend? I don't know. But this guy got skill, and he's going up against Cincy this week. It's a tougher matchup. Dropped 26 out of nowhere. 26 points from a player worth $3,500. Wow. That's all I have to say. Amazing. And then the Chargers defense rounds it up. 3,100, 14 points. Beautiful. You can't expect the best ROI from your defense, but Chargers did well. They were playing against Aiden O'Connell, who, Vegas dropped points on them, 17 points, but Khalil Mack just went crazy and had 6 sacks. I think tying the record for the most sacks in the game. Or I don't know I know he had 6, but I don't know if the record was 7. I can't remember off the top of my head. Another thing I want to point out, ladies and gentlemen, look at the field column in this lineup, okay? This is very important for Millie Maker contests. Now, if you're playing cash games, it doesn't matter as much. What's the difference between a cash and a Millie Maker? With a Millie Maker, you're trying to go for the top. The first prize is everything, and that's the $1 million prize. Second is $100,000. So you're really swinging for the fences in a Millie Maker, or what's called in a guaranteed prize pool, right? You're going for it all. You're all in. I'm getting the most points. I'm gonna do something crazy, and I'm gonna go against the grain. So look, Josh Allen, 6.1%. People were not on him. That is beautiful. Look at Stephon Diggs, 12% for a wide receiver one. That's you see a wide receiver one, someone priced at 8,000 and they have 10% owner. If you're in a GPP pool, even if you don't think that they're gonna do well, you go for it because they provide that explosive upside and no one else is on them. You get a major pool advantage. Adam Thielen, look, he's at 30%. It's fine to go with chalk on cheaper players. With your explosive guys, you don't want chalk. So the fact that he or she, whatever Michael T0717 is, the fact that they went with Allen and Diggs and that was not a chalky play allowed them to purchase CMC, who was a chalky play. And that's where you have to find that balance. Do I fade the chalk or do I bite it? And in CMC's case, this whole season he's been chalky and he's been hitting. But also look at his price tag, $9,200. Okay, we're gonna talk about this shortly when we look at the salaries. $9,200 means he needs to drop 40 points or forget it. You had a bad investment in a GPP pool. So CMC 92, he dropped 51. He did his job. He provided 5x on his salary. What more can you ask? CMC did it. But if he only put up 20 points, that's a pretty bad investment right there. Divide his salary into 2 to just do quick math. That comes out to 4,600 a pop if I did that right. And then you're just getting 10 points each if he drops 20. So anyways, that covers the lineup for the winning Millie Maker lineup. And just to give you guys advice on what to do for a cash game, with cash game, you can accept the chalk. Why? You don't really care about getting first in a cash, or sometimes, they use this term loosely, cash, double up, or whatever. You just care about performing better than average. So if you're in like smaller pools and stuff, and like it's not as important to like have a unique lineup stick out or whatever, then you can go with like a CMC. Keenan was a very chalky player last week. Like he was like 30-40% because he was coming off like 2 straight weeks of 20 targets. Like this is sort of like playing the stock market almost. Like you got to like try to go against the public, think one step ahead, and capitalize on those opportunities. So in a cash game, again, you're just trying to get like at the 55th percentile and you're good. And those are fine ways of making ROI. If you're a serious DFS player, you'll have some money in the cash games and you'll have some money in the GPP. And usually what the skilled DFS players make their GPP entry fees through cash games because they're that skilled and it's easy for them to get into the 50th percentile or higher, and then you're just covering your entry fee and then just hoping, because you need luck. You need luck to win a GPP. Like you can be the most skilled player in the world, but at the same time, you need to hit it too. At least in the main slate. With Showdown, we'll talk about this later. In the Showdown mode where it's just one game, it's more lineup strategy. Like it's more skill based. I still believe like there is skill involved in winning a GPP, but there's a lot more variance because you have 10 games going on. And let's talk about those 10 games. So going into this week, now we have bye weeks. The slate looks shorter. We only have 10 games. So we have one London game. So, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot less traffic in this week compared to weeks past. So let's start at the top, work our way down, and then we'll go into DraftKings. So Texans Falcons, 41.5 is the over under. I can't touch anything with this Falcons offense. Like Desmond Ridder was not the answer last year. We saw that. Arthur Smith, arrogant as hell, couldn't see what everybody else saw last year. Forced him in there this year. Looked okay, but not really in his first 2 games. Like the difference between Desmond Ridder in the first 2 games versus the last 2 games is that he's still throwing the picks. It's just that the defenders are catching it. Like he had multiple dropped interceptions in those first 2 games. So there isn't really much difference between Ridder first 2 games and last 2 games. It's just that the defenders are catching it. But now what the defenses are doing, and it wasn't rocket science. Bijan Robinson was the reason why they were in those in the first 2 games, and they won. Okay, let's take out Bijan, let everybody else go loose. This guy can't freaking complete simple NFL concept rally. Like he can't go through his progressions. The guy makes one read and freaking panics and throws the ball away or gives it to the defender, pick six, whatever. Like this guy is a joke. He shouldn't even be a backup QB. And I have no idea why Arthur Smith is not putting Taylor Heinicke in the game. Not that Taylor Heinicke is going to come and take the Falcons to the Super Bowl, but he can put them in the conversation to win the division and make the playoffs. Like, the Falcons have a good offensive line and good defense, and they have weapons everywhere. Like, come on. This is ridiculous. Texans. CJ Stroud, we talked about it, folks. This kid is leaps and bounds ahead of Bryce Young. Him and Anthony Richardson are just crushing it. I love this guy. He's, at one point, he's going to run into a wall against a really good defense. And maybe this is it. He's on the road going against a slightly underrated Falcons team, but Desmond Ridder is going to keep them in the game. I expect the Texans to win this pretty comfortably, but if Heinicke comes into this game, watch the Falcons could take over for sure. So DFS wise, the only person I'm really interested in here, folks, is Tank Dell. So AJ Terrell, the Falcons corner, does a really good job of locking up defenders, especially their wide receiver ones. So that's probably Nico. Nico's probably going to go up against AJ. And Tank Dell had a bad week last week, so maybe this is it. Maybe because maybe he pops. You always want to you always want to track the people that did bad last week and then grab them the next week because then people are off them. Panthers Lions. Bryce Young going inside Detroit. I love this. I love this for the Lions. Now the Lions are missing Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think even Josh Reynolds is questionable but expected to play. Hammer David Montgomery here. He's not that chalky. If I look up his owner percentage really quick to just give that out, I can't find it really quick. Just give me 1 second while I filter on the running backs. David Montgomery. He is on the chalkier side, but he's expected to do well at 23%. I mean, he has a 23% ownership percentage, so that is on the chalkier side. But you saw last week CMC at 25. That's fine. Like if you're gonna take chalk, I'd take chalk on Montgomery. Lions do not like. You saw this last year with Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. Like Lions don't like they don't like splitting the backfield. They're more traditional in the sense that they have one workhorse back, and the fact that they're coming off all that rest. I think they played Thursday night in week four if I'm not mistaken. So they're good, and no Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah, you wanna hammer this. And the Detroit defense, I'm so happy, is actually expensive. So that makes it, not a lot of people are on them. That ownership percentage is at 5%. Guys, you're going up against Bryce Young, who is a turnover machine. Like, there is potential for a 20-point Lions defensive performance. So they're 3,800. They're on the more expensive side, but I mean, this is a really good matchup. You're going inside Detroit. Detroit's going to run the ball. Montgomery and Lions stack right there. Go for it. On the Panthers side, Thielen. I would probably go Thielen. Terrence Marshall's looking okay too, but I think I'd lean a little bit more on Thielen. Not that I'm excited, but if you wanted some exposure on that stack, you could do that. And Sam Laporta for the Lions. I mean, they're missing Amon-Ra, and Reynolds looks like he's banged up. Maybe even Jamison Williams comes to life in this game. I think he was taken off the injury report if I'm not mistaken. But I like Sam Laporta here, and I like David Montgomery a lot as well. Okay. And then go next game, Titans Colts. Titans on the road are terrible. This is where you want to fade the Titans. When Titans are home underdogs, they overperform. When they're road favorites, they do terribly. And Colts are coming off a loss. Titans are coming off a big win. Colts are going to probably win this game, and I'm predicting they're going to win it comfortably, which means what? Anthony Richardson probably had something to do with it. And the Titans secondary is trash. So this is a stack that I like. I like going Anthony Richardson, Michael Pittman, or Josh Downs, and I don't think I'd bring anybody back on the Titans side. If you wanted to get crazy, if you think that Andrew, you're crazy, Titans are going to be in this game, yada yada, fine. Go Derrick Henry because it looks like he's coming back to life too. And Colts let Kyron Williams go crazy. So if you think this game's going to be high scoring competitive, then you can go A-Rich, Henry, Pittman, or Downs. So that's how I would play this. And the over-under there is 43. Now we go to Giants-Dolphins, 47.5. One of the higher over-unders on the slate, but that's just due to the Dolphins' crazy offense. So there you have Tua, obviously. Like, you got to consider. You have Tyreek Hill, who's coming off a down week. That you want to look at that too. Wide receivers that don't do well one week usually come back with vengeance in the other, and Giants cannot run with Tyreek Hill. I'll tell you that from now. The only risk is, do Dolphins jump up on these guys? And we had this same concern with the Broncos 2 weeks ago. Do the Dolphins jump up and do they run? Well, they've proven that they like to drop points. So if you think it's a blowout, Tyreek's probably still going to get his. And that makes Devon Achane valuable, and he's really not that chalky. I'm going to pull up Devon Achane's percentage now too off to the side while we're talking. And Devon Achane, let's see if I'm going to regret my words. But yeah, he's not that chalky. 3.9%. They're probably going to step all over this freaking Giants team. Achane's been out snapping Mostert. Like, hey, like, They're seeing a 6,100 price tag next to Devon A-Chain, and the public is not for it. They don't want to pay up. It was the same thing with Puka. Last week, Puka was not chalky because people were scared of the 6,700 or 7,600 price tag, and he ended up going crazy. Like, yeah, we're in 2023 week 4. I know it sounds crazy now, but A-Chain is a $6,000 player. Like, he literally dropped 50 points, something that only CMC has done in the running back position besides from him. Okay. And then on the Giants side, I mean, you have to think they're going to come back and do something here. Who I like on the Giants side, and this is actually a chalky play, but it's okay because he's so cheap. Wandale Robinson, $3,000, and this guy's been getting targets. So again, it's okay to have chalk on like cheap players. What do cheap players allow you to do? Go after more expensive players. Like if you wanted to go Tua, Tyreek, and then Wandale, that's a stack. Or did you want to maybe you go A-Chain and Wandale, something like that, like you pick. But um there are going to be lineup. I'll tell you from now in the GPP contest, there will be lineups that are heavily stacked on Miami. Like they have shown that they are willing to drop points on you. I'm not saying they're going to drop 70, but a 40 burger is not not like out of the range of possible outcomes. Okay, Saints Patriots. So one thing I don't understand about this game, over unders 39. I get that. Patriots, don't know why they're favorited. I think Saints should be favorited here, especially with all the injuries. Patriots lost their top corner Christian Gonzalez. We talked about him last week. You don't ever want to play receivers against this guy. And the second that Christian Gonzalez went out, CD Lamb went crazy, and the rest was history. The Cowboys clobbered them. They also lost Judon in this game, and now you have a Saints team that's coming off a pretty bad loss, so they're probably looking for blood. I don't get why the Patriots are the highest owned defense here. I would definitely stay away from that. I'd stay away from any Saints offensive player. Nobody I like there. Sorry, I meant I would stay away from any Patriots offensive player. Excuse me if I said that. If I said Saints. On the Saints side, Kamara is chalky, but he is expected to do well. And when I mean chalky, I mean like he is really freaking bad. He's probably going to have an ownership greater than 50% because people saw the 13 catches that he had against the Bucks. Okay, and he looked great, honestly. He had 11 carries for like 55 yards or something. He was averaging close to 5 yards per carry. Like he looked really good, but in a GPP, he's almost unplayable. That's too much chalk. Like you have to just hope that they attack the Patriots through the air and Kamara's not involved so that you get a advantage on 50% of the pool. Like that you can have some exposure to him, but I wouldn't tilt too many of your lineups towards Kamara. And Olave should have a pretty good game with Christian Gonzalez being out too. It's just that Derek Carr is not looking too hot, so it's kind of difficult to see where they're going to end up. Ravens Steelers over under 38. Nasty, nasty. I think Pickett's not playing in this game. Steelers are letting wide receiver ones go bananas on them. And I think Ravens were missing Bateman and OBJ last week. Like this could be a Zay Flowers week. So from this side, Lamar hasn't had a big game yet. His ownership levels are pretty low. So look for you. He's a reasonable stack. I don't love it. Like if you wanted to go Lamar, Pickens, and Zay, totally get it. Or Lamar, Pickens, Andrews, that's fine. I like the Ravens D going up against Trubisky, and then I don't know if he's gonna force the ball to Pickens or whatnot more than Pickett was doing, but yeah, this is a tough game, but there's some value there. There's some value. Bengals going into the desert versus a feisty Cardinals team. So Bengals are without T. Higgins, and that you would think would drive up the value of Jamar Chase. But in 2023, when Joe Burrow does not look like Joe Burrow, that is really not the case here. So Chase is a good play. If you want to really go for it, nobody's going to be on Burrow. If you think this is the week that Burrow's going to come back, He's a good pool play, but let me just warn you guys. He didn't look good against Tennessee, and Tennessee has a very, very crappy secondary. But here's what I do like about Arizona. Even though they're feisty, Joe Burrow's playing in a dome. Everyone's talking smack. Higgins is out. Like, this could be a Burrow chase. Like, I'm back on the map. They had a similar game against the Saints last year where they just went crazy in a dome. So I like it. I like it for Burrow. I would play it. Um, and then on the Cardinals side, a chalky player, surprisingly, is Marquise Brown. Bengals have a good D. Their offense isn't doing them any favors, but they have players on defense. I know the scores don't indicate that, but they actually have a really good D. So be careful with Marquise Brown. I would play Zach Ertz because he's cheap at 3,500. He's not too chalky, and he's getting a lot of targets. So like just those short passing games all going to Ertz. So a reasonable stack here: Burrow, Chase, Ertz. But let me pause for a second. I also want to give a shout out to Mixon. Go back watching the game tape. He looks good, guys. He looks good. It's just that the game flow is not really going into their advantage. He ran really hard against that Titans run D, who's like one of the best defenses in the league. So yeah, I like Mixon a lot here too. He's on alert for me. He's gonna be in a bunch of my lineups for sure. Um, okay. Eagles Rams over under 50, one of the highest over unders of the week. So you have Cup making his return. You have a dome game, which points go up. So what do you do here? Eagles coming off a last minute victory. Rams coming off a last minute victory. I don't think this is the Eagles from 2022. So I think that Rams have a good chance of winning this. They're definitely. I feel like they'll cover this. Cup is not going to be highly owned. AJ Brown probably will be, and I'm looking at the ownership percentage now. He's like at 13, so it's not that bad actually. But he had a strong week last week, so I don't know if that means like it might be a Devontae Smith week this week. But yeah, this is a game you want some exposure to somehow, some way. Cup's gonna barely have people on him, barely, and that could represent opportunity. But again, it's a gamble. Like you don't know how he's gonna come out. You don't know if he's going to be on a snap count. He's been practicing fully. So, I don't know. Like, does he just immediately take over the Puka role and grab 20 targets and just go crazy? Possible. Definitely possible. You got to consider it. You got to have it in your lineups. Not my top stacks or my plays. I like Stafford. He's been getting they've been throwing the ball a lot. So, he's just falling short of the touchdowns. And maybe a Cup and Stafford stack here isn't too crazy. And it'll be expensive, but you can do a bring back with AJ Brown or Smith. But then you got to go cheap everywhere else. So at least Stafford's kind of cheap for a QB. Okay, Jets Broncos. This is the Jets offensive coordinator's revenge game, as he was the head coach of the Broncos last year. So does this mean that the Jets offense is going to come out and just really stick it to this struggling Broncos defense? I think so. I think this is a good spot. If you want to play a Zach stack, I'm all for it. Garrett Wilson, Zach Wilson, do it. Jets D, they should do well too. They're missing DJ Reed, so watch out for that. They'll be more chalky than like Detroit because they're cheaper, but I like them. Brees Hall, no snap count. This is a good spot, folks. So I like the Jets here. I think they're going to win this game. I think they're going to win convincingly. And after this game, we're going to have a different opinion in the mainstream about Zach Wilson. And finally, the Chiefs, the struggling Chiefs, that offense that just doesn't look right, but somehow they're 3-1, going up against a Vikings team that looked like they wanted to give the game away to the Panthers last week, but yeah, I mean, the Panthers are just that bad, and they couldn't take it from the Vikings. Vikings are just trying to suck for Caleb, but the Panthers are so bad that they couldn't let the Vikings just blow themselves up. So 52.5, the biggest game on this slate, the highest over under. You have chalk everywhere in this game. Mahomes is the chalkiest QB. Kelsey's the chalkiest tight end. I don't know if that's a Swift effect because like he hasn't been doing he hasn't been making up his salary at all this season. So for half of Kelsey's price, actually more than half. So if you compare Ertz's salary to Kelsey, it's more than 50%. Like it's crazy how much cheaper Ertz is compared to Kelsey. Like I'll take Ertz all day for half the salary. They'll probably be like 5 points apart. You can't pay like 3,500 for 5 points. It's terrible ROI. Like maybe this is the game where Kelsey goes crazy. Maybe, but until I see it, I'm not betting on Mahomes and Kelsey. They got to figure there's something wrong with that offense. Like, but I did like how Pacheco ran hard. But the Vikings, surprisingly, they played the run, I think, okay. I guess DeAndre Swift had a big game against them, but Rashad White didn't. And I don't know if Pacheco will. Maybe. Just depends how the Chiefs want to attack the Vikings. So, yeah, and Justin Jefferson, he's priced at 9,400. Mahomes, priciest QB. I mean, chalkiest QB. JJ, priciest receiver. Kelsey, the priciest tight end. Everyone's playing this game like it's a Dolphins Broncos situation. I could easily see this one going under. I could easily see this one going under. Both offenses have been struggling. I would definitely bet the under if I were in Vegas, and I don't want too much exposure here to either team. Okay, that was a lot, but let's go inside DraftKings and start looking at some stacks for real now. So let's scroll down really quick, and there we go. We're on the DraftKings site. All right, first stack that I want to talk to you guys about is gonna be the just going down this list. You can see Mahomes high priced 8,200. I'm not for it. Jalen Hurts 8,000. I don't know. I have a weird feeling that the Eagles might underwhelm here. I don't want to go Hurts. He's too expensive. I'm okay with Lamar. I think there's upside here. I think that um Pittsburgh's D is not really that great against the pass. So I can see a situation where you want to go Lamar and Zay. So Zay should be somewhere in this price range. Let's see. There he is. 5,500. Boom. So that's a pretty cheap stack. And then if you wanted Andrews instead, he's going to obviously be more expensive. But 5,500, not too bad. He used to be priced in the 6,000s. And that could be because of the matchup. Pittsburgh is pretty good against the tight end through the first 4 games. But I'm okay with that. And then Pickens, I think, is a similar price as Flowers. So if you scroll down to try to find Mr. Pickens, 5,200. Baltimore, I think, is still without their top corner. So if you want to attack them that way, definitely consider it. So that's stack number 1, Lamar. Stack number 2 is that we'll talk about. Let's go slowly here because I'm all over the place. Tua you can do as well. I'm not gonna go too much into it. I'll only like build out 2 or 3 of them. But I like Tua here. If you want to pair him with like a Tyreek, a Braxton Berrios comeback piece of Wan'Dale Robinson, there are going to be plenty of lineups with him. He's not the chalkiest guy, but I'm sure a lot of people are going to think, oh yeah, this is exactly like what happened with the Broncos. You have a lesser team like walking in there, they're probably going to get smacked. But just keep in mind that Giants, like they're coming off a pretty bad loss. Like they're due for a fight here. So I don't know what's going to turn out, but he's definitely one of them. Anthony Richardson I like a lot, so you can play him. He's 7,000. Again, Derrick Henry 7,500. He's not in the 8,000 range. Like he could easily bust out 30 points here, folks. So keep him in mind. And then as your wide receiver, you can go Pittman 6,400, or you can scroll down more and find Mr. Downs. So let's find Josh Downs, and he's all the way down. It feels like 3,700. That's beautiful, guys. That is a beautiful play right there. Let's check out his target. So 7, 5, 12, 3. So probably salary like got a little bit depressed from his game last week. But if he has a game closer to like that 12 or that 5 and 7, like he hasn't really hit the pay dirt yet either. Yeah, 3,700. That not too bad. Not too bad. And then just for fun, I want to show you guys where Wandale is too on this list. So if you scroll down and see all these guys we talked about earlier, Michael Wilson, 3,700. These are the cheap guys you want to consider. Terrence Marshall, 3,600. He's okay too. He looks pretty good, guys. I know Bryce Young is trash, but Marshall looks okay. Barrios, also, he's getting a lot of targets. Let me open him up so you guys see that I'm not full of it. Just looking at Barrios really quick. Look at that. 6 targets last week, scored a touchdown. Maybe that means that he's not going to score again this week. Maybe like last week was his week and it was a blowout or whatever. But I think there were some people that were missing in that Buffalo game. Yeah, this Rivercraft guy was out, and perhaps that propelled him to be the number 3 guy in that game. And Barrios was really good with the Jets last year, so yeah, I like him a lot. And then just scrolling down, guys, look at this Wandale. Look at Wandale. Hold on, all the way down here. Hope I didn't pass him. Where are you at, Mr. Wandale? Come on, you're somewhere here. I know you are. I can type his name, but I'm so lazy. I just like scrolling. Okay, this is getting kind of ridiculous. Let's type it. Robinson. There you are. $3,000. $3,000. He's cheaper than defenses. Okay. And this is a person that came off injury, I believe, against San Francisco. Had 5 targets one week, 6 targets the next. Sign me up at $3,000. He's gonna be chalky, but that's fine. Just make sure you don't go with chalk on explosive players. Like on cheap players, it's okay. And if you do go chalky on explosive players, you need to have other explosive players to offset that, like how Michael T0717 did in the Millie Maker. He went chalk on CMC, relative chalk, 25%. It's okay. And then Allen and Diggs offset that chalk. So he had 2 explosive non-chalky pieces and then 1 chalky piece. Okay. So we talked about one day. We kind of jumped ahead again. Sorry. Again, I get off on tangents sometimes. Hopefully that's entertaining. If not, I apologize that I'm pissing you guys off with my annoying jumping around. Joe Burrow, 6,200. Like it. I think I love this guy. 6,200 in a dome against a feisty defense, but Joe Burrow needs to come back. There's that player's in there. That dog is somewhere in there. And if you want to bet that he's gonna come out this week, you can profit immensely off of it, and you can do something like Burrow and Chase. This stack right here last year would run like maybe like Burrow would be closer to like $8,000 and Chase would be like 8,500. You're getting a pretty nice deal right here, especially with Higgins out, guys. Higgins is out. Like Chase is going to be all by himself. All those targets are going to go to him. Like you see how excited I'm getting, but I'm honestly thinking this is 2022 Joe Burrow. I know it's not, but like I can't help myself. Because I know how good this guy is. Like I know that if he activates, it's bad. Like he is the 1B to Patrick Mahomes, okay? When he's healthy and he's fully there, he is the 1B. This guy is talented and he's 6,200, and every little Moneyball gene I have inside of me is going crazy. So, anyways, scrolling down, you see Mr. Ertz as promised, 3,500. Beautiful price. You can go with him, or you can go with Mr. Michael Wilson that we talked about too. That was down here somewhere at 3,700. Let's scroll down and find him. There he is. Boom, 3,700. The fact that he had 2 tuts last week, like I just don't see him like doubling it up, and maybe maybe Cincy like actually like focuses on Michael Wilson because he's good and has like appropriate people on him, and they definitely have the defenders to cover that. So yeah, I'd rather go Ertz in that situation. Okay, talked about Mr. Burrow, and let's go under QBs. And then why are we in the 4,500 range? We have Goff's okay too. I just think it's the game script's going to be mostly for Montgomery, so I'd be careful with Goff. Stroud, I love him, but I think I'd avoid him this week. It just feels weird. Like Houston coming off a big win, Atlanta coming off a bad loss. Like Atlanta can easily just hold on the ball and just keep keep CJ off. I'm so sorry, CJ. I am so sorry for almost calling you Bryce. Shame on me. Shame on me. Daniel Jones at 5,800. Yeah, I don't know. Not excited by it. Matt Stafford at 56. I mean, guys, that's cheap. Like for the volume that he's throwing at, that's pretty damn good. Look at this. 38, 55, 33, 40. He's going crazy. He's just not, the touchdowns aren't coming up yet. And maybe that changes with Cooper Kupp. 5,600 is a great price for Mr. Stafford. I don't know why I'm calling everyone Mr. today. I think I'm just like really excited for week 5. We got 4 weeks of data, guys. After getting 4 weeks of data, numbers people love it. Who else did I want to talk about? Just going through the list. Okay, last one. We got to talk about Zach Wilson going up against the best defense for quarterbacks, meaning the one you want to attack, not literally like they'll shut you down. Although last year they probably could have. I don't know what the hell's going on with Denver. But okay, you have Zach Wilson, and you can stack him with Wilson. So coming up here, Wilson I think was like 5,400-ish. Where is he at? Wilson, where are you? There you are. $6,000. Sorry, thought he was closer to 5. So we'll label this as the puke stack of the week. So saw how expensive Burrow and Chase were. This is like, yeah, what? It's barely, it's not even 11,000. I think Burrow and Chase were like, they were close to like 14, I think, over 14. So I like Breece Hall this week too. It could easily, so I think this is a good segue to running backs. We talked about the QBs. I think this could easily be like a welcome back Breece Hall type of game. And oh, look, they are the worst team against the run too. Well, Denver is just you want to start your guys against Denver. I got to tell you that much. Now, starting at the top, Saquon, questionable. I would be very, very careful here. He's coming off an injury, and game script might not allow him to get his usual touches, so be careful. Bijan, they're going to try to... If Atlanta wins this game, it's Desmond Ridder hitting wide open receivers. It's not going to be Bijan, and Texans actually have a pretty decent defense. I'm pretty sure they're watching the past 2 weeks how teams are just keying in on the guy and not letting him get loose. It's not... You can shut down... Like, Bijan looks explosive, but the guy's not Adrian Peterson. So you can't... Like, if you stack the box on him, he's going to get shut down. Like, if you just key in on him. People would key in on Adrian Peterson, but it wouldn't matter. But Bijan's not at that level. He's great, though. He's awesome to watch. He's fun. Derrick Henry we talked about. JT's interesting. He had his little contract extension, making $14 million a year on an average annual basis now. He's the 3rd highest paid running back. So good for him. Happy he got paid. I'd probably, against Tennessee, a good run D, yeah, I'd avoid that one. I would probably just want to go Anthony Richardson and attack Tennessee's secondary as opposed to their running defense. Kyron's going up in value. Philly's good against the run. I would play Philly Rams pass catchers as opposed to their running backs. Talked about Montgomery. Love him. Definitely hammer that. Mixon going up against not a great running back, a 31st ranked running back, defense for against Arizona, but just keep in mind like Denver being 32 and Arizona being 31, they gave up 50 points to McCaffrey, and Denver gave up like 100 points to Mostert and A Chain. So there's a little bit of like skewness there. They're not going to do that every week, but they are not that great at running. So Kamara, chalky. I don't know. Cash games, I do it. I'd get nervous in GPP pool. So be careful with Kamara. I feel like this is the one that I'm going to fade and it's going to bite me in the butt, but whatever. I'll take that risk. There are just too many good plays. Mostert and A Chain both at 6,100, 6,200. It's hard not to play A Chain. Like 6,100, that's great. He's not chalky, so definitely consider him in your lineups. Jahmyr Gibbs, yeah, avoid him. Didn't even know he was questionable. Even better for Montgomery. I hope he gets ruled out right before. Actually, no, I take that back. I don't want Gibbs to get ruled out before the game, because then Montgomery will get chalky, and then I'll be really sad, because then that'll probably make me want to fade him. And I really don't want to fade Montgomery this week. I'll make a promise. I'm not fading Montgomery this week. I'm going to promise the audience. I am playing David Montgomery this week. I don't give a crap about who else is playing him. I know he's going to do great. Swift against Rams, you could. It's not terrible. James Conner against Cincy, there's upside. There's upside there. He's pretty cheap. But yeah, Cincy D, pretty freaking good. Pacheco is getting a lot more run. Maybe. That's a maybe. There you go. This is the one I like. 5,400. Brees Hall, not too chalky. Consider him. Kamara and Connor are actually both chalky. So even though Connor, like, I'm a little high on this week, I'd probably just fade him because of the chalk. Then scrolling down this list, McLaughlin could get interesting if Javonte Williams is ruled out. So that's one to monitor. And then I think I'm done here, guys. I don't think I want to talk about anyone else down here. Okay. Wide receivers. So we talked about some stack options. We'll start from the top of the list and then work our way down. So let's go with Justin Jefferson, 9,400, going up against a KC secondary that's actually not that bad. So yeah, I probably wouldn't want to play Justin Jefferson this week, just all things considered. Not the best game. He's going to need to drop, again, 40 points for him to be worth it. I don't think he does it. I'll bet that he doesn't do it. Tyreek Hill, though, he's on the chalkier side as well. Not as bad as actually I don't think, I take that back. Justin Jefferson was the one chalky. Hill, I don't believe, is chalky, but we'll go and check the FSL ownership projections right after this. I would consider him. Cup's not going to be chalky. Going up against a Philly secondary, giving up a ton of points to wide receivers, so definitely consider him. AJ Brown, if you want the bring back piece, but he went crazy last week. I don't know that he's going to go crazy 2 weeks in a row. Jamar Chase, not chalky. No T. Higgins. This is a good one. St. Brown, I think, is not playing. He's doubtful. Then we have Mr. Puka Nacua with Cup coming back. Don't love that. Waddle's a tough play. Has he even hit the pay dirt this year? Man, he is really, like, Tyreek Hill has just been going so bananas that this guy hasn't really done much. So he missed last week. He's had like 5 targets on average. Him and Wandale are probably averaging similar target share, which is kind of funny. I'm not, and that doesn't mean that Wandale is better than him. I'm not trying to imply that, but I'm just saying for fantasy usage and his price compared to Wandale's, it's kind of funny. And yeah, no touchdowns. Maybe this is his week. Perhaps. Okay. Where did we say? Oh, Waddle. This could be Smith's week, but again, I'm not too bullish on that Rams D going up against I'm not too bullish on that Rams D against wide receivers. I'm a little nervous about that, but you can if you want to attack it. It's probably more of a blip them being the 8th ranked defense against wide receivers. Olave, especially with Christian Gonzalez out, he's definitely one to consider. Higgins, I thought he was out, and that might really influence my chase decision. Listed as questionable. Called Higgins day to day. Did this guy practice? Able to muster one limited set? I don't think this guy's playing. They're not gonna, and if he does, like it's a rib injury. I think they're gonna try to be careful here, but it's possible. Judy, yeah, you don't want any part of Judy against Sauce. I'll tell you that much. Judy's already not like a wide receiver alpha, hire kid and wife number one. He is more like a little wide receiver two type of player that people think is wide receiver one. His price is not reflective of his talent. I'll tell you that. Garrett Wilson, yeah, play him. He, unlike Judy, this guy is a dog. So you want to play Mr. Wilson against the Broncos secondary that's suffering. Hopkins against Indy, maybe a good bring back piece. He's getting targets, but yeah, I don't know that I love Tannehill. Like he's not looking that great. Avoid Nico. We talked about Zay. We like Zay. Tutu could be a nice bounce back piece this week. I don't love Sutton last week. He got lucky to even get a touchdown last week. So avoid that. Addison, yeah, I don't want that Casey secondary. That's kind of scary. Pickens as a bring back piece is okay. I probably wouldn't do a solo piece with him. Thielen at 51, I'm less inclined. I liked it better when he was in the 3 to 4,000 range. And then Tank Dell, I like. Tank Dell's a good play. Nice bounce back candidate, especially with AJ Terrell maybe going on Nico. Who else do we like? So it looks like Bateman's actually going to be playing, so that might make me a little less bullish on thing. Doesn't have a designation. Okay. So he usually gets what? How many targets this guy? 3 targets. Yeah, whatever. I think I'm okay. I think we're okay playing Flowers. Sky crapshoot. Tony crapshoot going up, very favorable matchup. Could hit. Not impossible, guys. Reynolds, yeah, I want to avoid that. Beckham, I don't think he's gonna play. They're not. Beckham wasn't signed for week 5. He was signed for a Super Bowl run. So yeah, don't worry about him. Scrolling down, let's speed things up a little bit. We talked about Downs. We talked about Wilson. We talked about Marshall. We like it. We like Berrios. I'd avoid Hyatt, but he does have that big play potential. Like he could go for like an 80-yard touchdown. It's just too sporadic. Alec Pierce, I liked him in the beginning of the season, but he's just not getting that volume and rapport with Mr. Richardson yet. Who else do we like? Okay, now we're in the 3,000 range, and the 3,000 receiver we like. We talked about it. It's Wan'Dale Robinson. Let's go to the tight ends now. So top tight end is Kelsey, 7,600. Avoid that. He's not looking too great. So round him up. So if he was at 7,000, you would need 28 points. If he was at 8,000, you would need 32 points for a good ROI. So call it 30 points. Is Kelsey going to drop 30? I don't know. It's really hard to say. I don't think he's dropped 30 points since that divisional round. Since that divisional game against the Jags. So like, it's been a while, and I know he was injured. He didn't play week 1, and they're probably bringing him back slowly. This is more of a game for like Checo and the receivers to try to dominate it and take away from the Vikings. Hawkinson, 6,500. Has this guy even popped this year? Look, what the hell has Hawkinson done? Let's see. Okay, so he had 1 pop at 25, but that's like he barely made his ROI. So he's like 1 for 4. He's 1 out of 3. 1 out of 4 games, he's only had a 1 time where he was worth his salary. Yeah, I don't love it. I mean, you can make the same argument for Andrews, but at least Andrews is $1,000 cheaper. So his 1 great game was this. I guess you can say he was okay against Cincy. He didn't play week 1. Didn't do crap against Indy. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna do it 2 weeks in a row. Laporta's getting priced. Look at that, guys. He used to be like 3,300. Now they're reflecting his salary. Good for DraftKings. He should be. This is the appropriate price for him. So he had that 22-point game against Atlanta, and then other than that, he really hasn't done much to justify a $5,000 salary. So folks, maybe we fade him. Maybe we take back. I didn't realize he was $5,000. Higbee. Let's see how he's doing. Higbee is priced at 4,100. So that means you need closer to 16 points. He hasn't hit that all season. Yeah, this is a tough call. Probably now thinking back on it, I don't think I do Higbee either. This is why it's like better to just pick a tight end that's cheap and just hope that somehow, some way they score a touchdown, like Ertz. So I think Ertz, if we look at his salary and his point totals, I think he's worth like. I would much rather take this guy's 11 points for $3,000. Again, not the best ROI. You would actually need 12 points for it to be good. 4x, right? Like you would need closer to 12, 13 points, but he can do it. He's 2 out of 4 here. He had a bad week against Dallas because they were just running the ball out, and Dallas is okay against tight ends. But yeah, I mean, that target share is great. 10, 8, 2, 10. 3,500, done. You are in my lineup and you're not chalky, you're in. Like Kelsey at a 50% ownership is just kind of stupid when you have someone like Ertz that's half the price and gets just as much volume, if not more. Man, how the great have fallen. Kyle Pitts, 3,300. I like how DraftKings is reacting though. They're being very reactive this year, putting Laporta up at $5,000, Pitts at 3,300. They usually like cling on to the brand names, but they're really adjusting here. I like that a lot because it makes for it there's like less like pricing, less mispricing in the market that way. But yeah, like he hasn't really been doing. He gets open. It's just that Ritter cannot hit this guy. But honestly, play him because he can easily, like, I would rather gamble with Pitts getting a long touchdown than playing someone like TJ Hawkinson for 6,500. Like, it is very possible that Pitts breaks free because everyone's just concentrating on Bijan. That's fine. Chiga Konku, he was really good last year. He's been relatively quiet this year. You can see that in his average fantasy points here, but never know. This could be Chig's week. He definitely has that playmaking potential. Irv Smith Jr. got cleared. And again, if Higgins is injured, that's going to open up target share for him. So definitely one to watch. Tyler Conklin's another one. The only thing that holds me back a little bit with Conklin, if you want to include him in a stack with Wilson, is that I think he didn't score actually, so he might not be the worst option, guys. Look at this, 6, 5, 6. Beautiful. Targets are there, the points aren't. So that balances out. Like at 31, again, we're really going bargain hunting here. And then Jonnu Smith, another one. This guy, 2,900. 2,900. And look at the target share you're getting. 6, 8, 6. The guy almost had 100 yards last week. He's clearly the tight end one in Atlanta. Yeah, definitely, like, just looking at the price discrepancy with the target share, there you go. For 2,900, you're getting 6 targets. But you also get stupid Ritter. So, I don't know. And then just scrolling down, maybe Troutman, because he's like the only. Is he the tight end one for Denver? And Jets suck against tight ends, apparently. I would not have known that unless DraftKings pointed it out. Let's see. Is he the number 1 tight end? Let's look at the depth chart for the Jets real quick. Number 1 tight end, Troutman, 2,700. Why not? Take a chance that the receivers are covered very well and Troutman somehow gets a touchdown for 2,700. You guys, like, let me take you back up here. You realize Travis Kelce is $5,000 more than that. Like, you can use that $5,000 for fireworks like Tyreek or Cup. Those are firework players. You want fireworks in your lineup. So to get fireworks, you need to kind of have like stinkers in the back and hope those stinkers just happen to get a touchdown to make up their salary. And last but not least, the defenses of the week. So I would be very, very careful of playing the Ravens. I know that Trubisky's going to be starting, but Tomlin as a home dog, Vrabel as a home dog, you don't want part of that, guys. Like, they get their team up, especially when they're underdogs. It's probably all over their bulletin board. This is the division game. They're going to get up for this game. So count on it. Avoid it. Eagles, I have no idea why they're the second highest priced defense. Stafford's looked great. Eagles secondary hasn't. Cup's coming back. Hard pass. Lions, this I understand. Bryce Young, trash. Going into Detroit, not an easy place to play in 2023. They have a pretty solid defense, guys. Bryce Young, easily this can be like 2 defensive touchdowns scored. Like this Lions team, this situation has that potential here. And for you to stick out in GPP, you need to have that like big defensive pop too. Like, and Detroit can give it. I know they're more pricey, but I would consider it. Dolphins against Miami, not too bad. I would not do the Bengals. Texans against Atlanta, sneaky, but I just don't love. I don't like the swing where Atlanta's coming off a loss, they're pissed, and then Texans, very big win. Like, it's hard to read. It's murky. Chiefs against Mini, maybe. Big maybe. There is a scenario in here where Pacheco's ball controlling and Chiefs are just dominating the Vikings. But the only thing is the Vikings like looked really freaking bad against Carolina. I don't know that they're gonna look that bad against the Chiefs, especially at home. Vikings win this game and they're all of a sudden back in the picture. So keep that in mind too. And then let's keep going down the list. Broncos, hell no, not playing that D. Zach Wilson's looking good, guys. I wouldn't touch that. Patriots are the chalkiest defense. I don't get it. Camaro's probably gonna have a field day with them. No Christian Gonzalez, no Judon. That's arguably their top 2 defenders out. So no, thank you. Jets, I would play. That. But if you want, like, it's just hard playing a QB and defense from the same game. So if you're gonna have Zach stacks, like your optimal lineup is probably not gonna have your Jets going crazy and Zach going crazy, because if the Jets go crazy and score a bunch of points, that probably means that Breece Hall is like ball controlling more so than Zach's attacking them from the ground. That's why I like Montgomery and Lions. I like Hall and Jets, like if you want those combos. So Montgomery and Lions is the more expensive version of Hall and the Jets. And who the hell would have guessed that 5 weeks into 2023? That's pretty nuts. So then what else do I like here? I like the Saints against the Patriots. Saints are coming off a tough loss. So are the Pats. They'll probably bounce back too. So I guess I shouldn't bash them too hard. And then other than that, the only team that I see here that has potential to pop like under like all of these teams, I could see the Rams doing well. I could see the Rams shocking the Eagles, but it's hard. Like, you're going up against Hurts and Brown. Like, I don't want to bet against that at 2,600. Like, I would want it at like 1,900 or 1,800. Then I might gamble, but 26 is not enough for me. But same thing with the Cardinals. Like, I can see the Cardinals doing well, but 2,800 is too much to go up against Burrow. So I need a bigger discount. When going up against Hurts or going up against Mahomes. Like, these teams need to be priced lower for me to consider it into my lineup. That is a message to DraftKings, by the way. If you want to bait a stupid DFS player to make him lose money against a top quarterback, make those defenses cheaper, because no one's going to freaking want to play those. No one wants to play defenses against those quarterbacks. So you got to make it like, you got to drop them under 2. If you're going up against the big 4, like Allen, Burrow, Mahomes, and Ertz, like those big four QBs, I need the defense to be like at 2,000 or lower. Otherwise, I don't even want to consider it. Forget it. Okay. FSL time. So FSL is one of our partners that FFMetrics works with. We provide projections to them. They have a lineup optimizer. We talked a little bit about it last week. I like using them for their ownership projections, and which we'll do here to just like go through the chalk a little bit. But basically, what they're doing is looking at like seven different sites. Damn it, stay still. I want all players. There we go. Seven different sites. Baker, FFmetrics, that's us, FTN data, and then you can like build your own blend, generate a bunch of lineups. You can do this for like the main slate or any slate here. Like you can go to DraftKings or FanDuel. You can have like expert options here, like to, if there are players on your exclude list, like I am not playing Patrick Mahomes this week. Major DFS players will probably want some exposure to him, but if you just didn't feel good about it, you can add that in your pro options and look at it. So let's look at the top chalk. We talked about it a little bit already. The ownership projection for Kelsey, 45%. No thank you. Alvin Kamara, 40%. This drives me crazy because I think Kamara is going to do well. I hate 40%. 40% scares me a lot. Justin Jefferson at 35%. I rather play Hill at 18. Like 35 is too much against that secondary. Hill coming off a bad game, Justin Jefferson coming off a 2-touchdown game. And by the way, that 2-touchdown game that Jefferson had wasn't even enough to cover that $9,000 salary. So you got to be careful. Like you go 9,000, you're going CMC, you're going Tyreek or JJ. One of those three pop in a week. Like we can look at those as like the big three skill players, right? Like the week before that, I think Tyreek went crazy. Last week, CMC went crazy. This week, maybe this is Tyreek's week. Like he's coming off a bad week. The guy has publicly stated he's going for 2,000 yards, and Tua's forcing him the ball. Like, what else do you want? I mean, it's easy. Like, it is so easy to say I'm just gonna fade this guy and hope he doesn't get 40, but like and forget 40. Hill could easily go 50 too. It's possible. So up to you. Then just working down the list, you see Connor up there at 34.8. That's high. Wilson 30.3. You got to offset that chalk. If you're gonna play some of that chalk, like you can't have a lineup where you have all of these guys in there. Pat's D at 24%. I still don't get. Mahomes at 30%. Yeah, I'm just not gonna play it. I mean, if you want to like really go like if you want to play against the pool too, like Pacheco could be a pool play here because you would basically be taking away touchdowns from Kelsey and Mahomes. I know Pacheco at 20% isn't exactly the contrarian play, but he does provide you an offset against chalkier guys. And then yeah, Wandale at 19. I'm okay with that. Wandale is going to be a highly played guy. He's 3,000. He's mispriced right now for his target share. Like that's fine. You can play that. He's probably getting 6 targets. He's probably going to get 15 points. And there, you made up. The guy gets 5 catches, like I don't know, like 80 yards or something like that, or not even. Let's say we need him to be. We need him to just get 12 points. We need him to get 12 points. The guy gets 5 catches for 70 yards or 6 catches for 60 yards. He's done. Like that's not a terrible stat line for him. He can definitely do that. It's within possibility. And if he doesn't, he's not going to be off by much. He's going to be off by 2 or 3 points. So it's not a big deal. You can make it up from somebody else exploding in your lineup. So that is it for week 5, folks. I wish you the best of luck on all of your betting ventures, whether it be DFS, redraft leagues, handicapping, survivor pools. Best of luck to you. Subscribe to this Twitch channel and check out FFmetrics.com for the best in class fantasy football projections on the market. Get access to RC Fisher. You get invited to those private Sunday morning shows where he's just going through that injury report, telling you which players to play in DFS, telling you which players to sit where their advantages, disadvantages. Guys, RC's been doing this a long time. He identifies people before the market sees it and puts you in a really good position to see it. Some of the stuff that comes out, yeah, it might be a shock to you when you first hear it, when he brings people out, but he is more right than he is wrong. I promise you that. I've been following him for more than a decade, and now I have the privilege of working with him. Definitely, you want to check him out. At FFMetrics is his Twitter handle. He has a Twitch handle as well. And ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here.